And this is just so confusing and at the same time eye-opening. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's nice to be here today. I hope you all are doing good. I am back today with another reaction. I am going to be checking out a short history of slavery presented by Candace Owens. Yeah, I am always very kind of interested, when I hear about slavery, because this is something that I totally, haven't really, no knowledge about. Only heard a little about that, but I really like to listen more and learn more. Let's dive in without further talking.
And now for a brief history of slavery. Here's the first thing you need to know. Slavery was not invented by white people. It did not start in 1619 when the first slaves came to Jamestown. It existed before then. It did not start in 1492 when Columbus discovered the New World. In fact, when the intrepid explorer landed in the Bahamas, the native Taino tribe hoped that he would help them defeat their aggressive neighbors, the Caribs. The Caribs enslaved the Taino and, on occasion, served them for dinner. Slavery existed in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. The word slave actually comes from the Slavs of Eastern Europe. Millions of them, all white by the way, were captured and enslaved by Muslims in the 9th century and later by the Ottoman Turks. Slavery existed when the Roman Empire controlled the Mediterranean and most of Europe from the 1st through the 5th centuries. Slavery existed when Alexander the Great conquered Persia in the 4th century BC. It was so common that Aristotle simply considered it natural. The slave master model was just how the world operated in the great philosopher's day. Slavery existed during the time of the ancient Egyptians 5,000 years ago. As far back as we can go in human history, we find slavery. As renowned historian John Steele Gordon notes from time immemorial, slaves were a major item of commerce. As much as a third of the population of the ancient world was enslaved. Here's the second thing you need to know. White people were the first to formally put an end to slavery. In 1833, Britain was the first country in the...
Okay, when they talk about slavery, most of the time, I don't know why in my head, in my little mind, I used to kind of think, blacks were the slaves and kind of, whites invented slavery and all that. But I got to watch more about these documentaries and my eyes and mind got opened more into, knowing how everything all started and all, learning more about this slavery. So it's quite interesting to see how it ended. I recently reacted to how it ended. And knowing that fact, it's really eye-opening. And this is so interesting. It kind of just clears so many things, so many thoughts on my mind, about this. That's why I'm always so interested when it comes to such videos. I always want to watch and kind of learn more about this.
In 1833, Britain was the first country in the history of the world to pass a Slavery Abolition Act. They were quickly followed by France, who in 1848 abolished slavery in her many colonies. Then, of course, came the 13th Amendment in the United States Constitution. After centuries of human slavery, white men led the world in putting an end to the abhorrent practice. That includes the 300,000 Union soldiers, overwhelmingly white, who died during the Civil War. Now, am I saying that this makes white people better than anyone else? Of course not. My purpose here is to simply tell the truth, and the truth is that human history is complicated. No one, regardless of skin color, stands guiltless. Yet today we are never told to consider the murderous Persian Empire or the cannibalism of indigenous tribes of North and South America or the heinous actions under the imperialistic Muslim, Chinese, Mongol, or Japanese empires, to name just a few. Instead, we're told that slavery is a white phenomenon. And like all persistent lies, this lie spawns a bunch of other lies. On social media, I come across extraordinary depictions about how Africans lived like pharaohs before Europeans came and laid waste to their paradise. I wish any of this were true, but it's not. It's a fantasy. The truth is that Africans were sold into slavery by other Black Africans, and in many cases, sold for items as trivial as gin and mirrors.
Wow, that is crazy. I can't imagine that's how, worthless or valueless human beings were then. And it's so surprising that, I don't know, because I used to think slavery was invented by whites, but knowing the fact that actually Africans owned, slaves and also sell slaves. And this is just so confusing and at the same time eye-opening for you to kind of sell or in exchange a human life, a human being for Miro, as worthless as Miro. It's crazy thinking about that. I never stop, it never stopped to amaze me when I hear what human lives then were exchanged for. It's mind-blowing. This is really interesting. Like, I'm getting to learn a lot, getting to know more and more and more about this slavery thing. And it is so crazy. And just the thought of it alone, it breaks my heart knowing how, worthless slaves, were treated in those days. And it's so unfortunate that it still happens till date. Slavery still happens till date. It's so illegal, but it hasn't stopped. That's the very annoying thing, about it. I just wonder if it's ever going to stop, like totally stop. It's crazy.
Other Black Africans, and in many cases, sold for items as trivial as gin and mirrors. Whites didn't go into the interior and round up the natives. They waited on the coast for their Black partners to bring them Black bodies. The stark reality is that our lives had very little value to our ancestors. Here's the third thing you need to know. If you think slavery is a relic of the past, you're wrong. There are some 700,000 slaves in Africa today, right now. That's the lowest estimate that I could find. Other sources say there are many more. For context, that's almost twice as many slaves as were ever brought to the United States. Child soldiers, human trafficking, forced labor, these are the conditions that currently exist within the same sub-Saharan region where the transatlantic slave trade originated. African bodies are being sold today like they were sold then, and no, they are not being purchased by any country of white men. In fact, slavery, by any traditional definition, is exclusively practiced today within non-white countries.
This is so crazy to hear that. It's shocking knowing this is going on in non-white countries. How worthless or valueless, I would say. Some people who think they're more, how do I put it, more on the advantage side, treat others who are vulnerable, who are less privileged, or I really cannot, fathom. I can't imagine. I just don't understand why this still happens till, in these recent times. And it's so annoying that they're so comfortable with it, doing it, selling human lives. And I just don't understand how the human mind actually acts, how they behave, how it just works. I don't know. It seems like the lives are like commodities you can just easily sell and get maybe money or whatever, riches or whatever it is. I just don't understand.
Today within non-white countries. But we hear almost nothing about that. Just like we hear nothing about how slavery was universal until good people in Europe and America ended it 2 centuries ago. Why? Because our so-called leaders, Black and white, wouldn't profit from it. Black victimhood is nothing if not profitable. It elects politicians and funds racial grievance groups. And if Black Americans began to view themselves as partners in the American dream, if we embraced the patriotic spirit that holds all men are created equal, the patriotic spirit that is our real heritage, then the race hustlers would soon be out of business. And who wants that? I'm Candace Owens, author of Blackout for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
That's so much. That's a lot, a lot to learn about slavery. Like I said, I'm always so interested in finding more information and get to know more about this slavery, which I know still exists in our today world. It has not ended in any way, and surprisingly and shockingly happens in Africa, and it still happens till date. And it will never cease to amaze me when you sell, like a fellow African is involved in slave trading, his or her own fellow African, for a valueless, I call it valueless, thing such as a mirror. I just don't know how much life actually, to some people means, so it's just so, I feel always so irritated when I get to hear, about this slavery and learning all the truth behind it. I'm so glad, how the truth comes out, because there's so many things that have been hidden, that have not been spoken out. Lots of truth behind slavery that no one knows, but it's coming out. I'm kind of glad it's coming out and everyone gets to know really the real truth, the real story behind slavery and all that. Back when I used to live in Nigeria, if you ask me what I was kind of, maybe the information I got about slavery was totally different from what I'm hearing now. It's so different. And this is so eye-opening. Yeah. I just cannot stop talking about, slavery, because it's something that, I just cannot imagine, it's inhuman. It's just inhuman. I'm glad I checked this out, and I definitely will be checking out more out, just to find out more, to learn more, about all of this. But this is crazy, really crazy. So guys, thank you all so much for hanging and checking out this with me. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all in my next video. From me, it's bye.